What's the biggest game you've called at this point in your career? Like, what felt like the biggest broadcast to you?
Yeah, probably the gold medal Olympic basketball game. It would be hard not to. The Serbia game that was the semifinal game with the crazy comeback, which was amazing. But the biggest game itself, you have USA versus France in Paris. So when you're sitting there, you feel it. And then the rating certainly reflected that. A lot of people were tuning in live, and then a lot of people watched in encore coverage. But it was just more so the magnitude of what it felt in there when they played the French national anthem, and every single player on that French team was belting it, and every single spectator in that building was belting it. That was different. I had never experienced anything like that. And even going back to the first day of Olympic basketball competition, which was day one of the Olympics, the basketball competition is the longest. It goes from literally the first day until the final event, which was the women's gold medal game. And that was almost equally as big with USA versus France, came down to the final shot, literally in a 1 point win for the US. But the men's game, going back to day one, D Wade had never seen Victor Wembanyama up close in person. And I had gotten to do a Wemby game earlier the previous season, Nets at Spurs in Austin. And he had an absurd stat line. I was like, this is the greatest basketball, you know, invention, I'm going to call it, that we've ever seen in our lives. It's just, I've never seen an alien quite like this. And I'm trying to explain it to Dwayne, and he's like, I'm so excited to see him. An hour before tip off of their first game, it was France versus Brazil. He comes strolling out. It's already a fully packed house. And keep in mind that first week was in Lille, where they allowed 30,000 people into the arena. So it was 30,000 people an hour before tip off, which is already crazy. He comes strolling out, only person on the court. There's a basketball at midcourt. He suction cups it up and flings it from midcourt. Nothing but net. And I've never heard a building louder. And Dwayne looked at me. He was like, what just happened? I go, yeah, that just happened. And then he proceeded to have four of the highlights that you've never seen in your life before. So that whole 2 weeks was a culmination into that final game of just absurd energy that I've never felt anywhere else. And I think that's what the Olympics can provide at its peak, because there's so much pride everybody has for their country, and especially if it's France in France for the gold. That was special. That's gonna be hard to top.
How was working with Dwayne Wade?
The best. He was awesome. You know, he had never called a game, a real game. He had called maybe a Rising Stars game or an All-Star game. Never called a real game before we got to Paris. And so we got on a couple calls beforehand to get on the same page. And you just never know. Dwayne Wade is as big a name as they come in basketball circles, especially internationally, because he's so big in China with his shoe deal. And so it's a guy with 20 million Instagram followers and a superstar actress wife. And he's just, the GQ vibe. Like, what is this? How are we going to do? Is he going to be down to earth? Is he going to be the superstar heir to him? What is it? And the first call we had, they were asking, he and his assistant were saying, okay, what do we need to know? What's the wardrobe situation? And we have people at NBC. They said, no worries. It's everybody's going to have Ralph Lauren stuff that we're getting specially made for the Olympics, and there's going to be a tailor there so we can get it specially tailored to his size, and et cetera, et cetera. And then his assistant said, well, what if Dwayne wanted to wear something a little bit more unique to him? They say, well, unfortunately, it's kind of has to be part of the kit. He can mix and match within the kit. And then Dwayne says, oh, no problem. I'll call Ralph. And I said, wait, hold on a second. Did you just say you're going to call Ralph Lauren? He goes, yeah. I go, okay, I'll call Hugo Boss. Like, what are we doing here? What do you mean? So after that, I go, well, what kind of guy is it? He couldn't have been more down to earth. He couldn't have been more dedicated to the craft. We got there before day one of the competition, and we got in our broadcast location, and they put on a game from the 2021, technically 2020, but 2021 Tokyo games of Australia playing against France, I think it was. And they said, let's just call a half of this game so you guys can get comfortable with each other. And I said, cool. So we do this half game, and within 2 minutes, I go, "Oh, he's going to be good at this. He's gonna know how to do this." But we finish up, we go back. It's the night before our first official day, and it's 11:30 p.m. Keep in mind, we're staying across the hall from each other. Like, that was the other thing with Dwayne is there aren't these five-star hotels in Lille, France. I would compare Lille, France to if you said, "Hey, do you want to go cover this in New York?" and you show up in Buffalo, New York. Like, that's kind of the vibe you're getting. And so they're not these crazy five-star hotels. We're staying in a very run-of-the-mill vibe spot. And Dwayne easily could have said, "I'm going to go and get this crazy Airbnb." He didn't. He said, "I want to stay with the team." So he was staying directly across the hall from me. And at 11:30 at night, he texted me and he said, "Hey, man, what do you think I needed to improve from that today? What did I do wrong? What can I do better tomorrow?" I was like, "Man, this guy's locked in." And so I really saw it because he was getting film sent to him of the international teams before the competitions started. So he had film of every international team so he could really study the players, their movements, what they did. Eric Spoelstra was an assistant with the U.S. team. So look, he obviously has that in. He called Spo before every USA game and said, "What are you seeing of the opposing team? What do you guys need to do? What do you need me to talk about? What can I say and what can I not say?" That's what a good broadcaster does. That's what Dwayne did every single game. He was locked in from start to finish. He got better and better. And I'm excited for him as he continues his broadcasting career and hopefully continues to do more games. But it was a blast, and it certainly was something that we will never forget. We have a lot of memories over the course of those 2 weeks.